Hi, and welcome to Templates for Change. This is part of the Self-Growth series. My name is Christine Thompson and I'm one of the directors and presenters of TFC. I do hope you find this interesting. It's all about the power of yes and no. And it has to be said right at the start that sometimes the very simplest of things can be the most powerful. Often it's something that you don't even think about in life that can have a great significance when one's value for it begins to grow. And one of these is the human ability to decide in life what you want and what you don't want, what to include and what to exclude. And this is talking about quite deliberate and self-chosen definite decisions, choices made by oneself. Now, what exactly are we talking about here? Well, what it's not is a reaction that's simply based on what one likes and doesn't like, or indeed whom one does and doesn't like. Now, a good example is if a person decides they want to be fair or they want to be honest, then being fair or honest will not be dependent on whether or not the person with whom one's dealing is someone that you like or you don't like. And this is a very, very simple and graphic example of the kind of things I'm talking about. Will one respond or will one react? I'd just like to explain a little bit about what I'm talking about here, because when we react to external circumstances, it can very often be a knee-jerk reaction, whereas response is always motivated from the inside. The response comes from how a person feels about life, their values, their principles, and their response is reflective of that inner set of values and principles, decisions made. And I've used a picture here of Nelson Mandela because he's a particularly inspiring example of somebody who made a definite decision when he was let out of prison that he could not afford to react in like kind to the way people had treated him, but he needed to concentrate on the future and the kind of world he wanted to be instrumental in creating. And this is a very, very good example of the difference between reaction and response. And the two different types of actions tap into very different energy systems, which we'll explore in one of the other self-growth series. So, using this power of yes and no actually begins with knowing what direction you want to be heading in life. Because without a sense of where you want to be going, what have you got to decide yes and no against? But once a decision is in place, then you have something to bounce things against. You can work out whether what you're about to do will help you get there or hinder it. And I suppose a really kind of very physical kind of example would be if somebody wants to lose weight, then once they've made the decision, they can very quickly see what kind of foods are going to help them achieve their goal and which ones will do quite the opposite. So within a personal growth journey, what we're suggesting is actually sit down and work out What are the kind of things that you want, that I want, that we want to include on that growth journey? So as an example, suppose someone decides that they really want to see a world where there is a lot more humanity, more compassion, more kindness than is currently at play. Then that would then be a consideration wherein somebody might then look at other features that would prevent the growth of humanity. And so things like callousness or cruelty or self-centeredness would be features that someone might then think, well, these need to diminish for me in my life and my decisions, the way I respond to people. And sometimes things can be quite subtle. And my own experience in personal growth, it's often the subtle things that once one spots them, that can really make a huge difference to that sense of being on track, heading where you want to be going. And of course there's many different parts to a human being, and one of those includes our habits, both physical habits and mental habits, and we'll have built those up in our life to date. And you might say the older a person is, sometimes the more entrenched these kind of habitual goings on actually are. So it's important to realize that making a decision is just the beginning of a really interesting and fascinating journey of embodying what we actually want to have in our lives, what we want to be joined to in our lives. And it's totally natural that these old patterns and old ideas, they'll come up again and again. They will resurface, and that's totally to be expected. And doesn't actually really matter. But what does matter is how we respond to them, what we actually act upon. Yet, the more we confirm decisions made by really positive, definite follow-through actions, then the more we truly do become what we want to be. And personal growth is very rarely an instant fix. At least that's my own experience. It's many small actions that slowly and surely make a powerful difference. And the beauty of it is an ongoing journey of choice and refinement, and it's so very worthwhile and so rewarding to anybody who's on a journey of self-growth. So, just to recap, this little presentation is highlighting that very simple ability that we have to be able to say yes or to be able to say no is something hugely important. So thanks for joining us on part of our self-growth series. Our website address is here, and of course you're more than welcome to visit and send us some feedback. Thanks again for joining us. Bye for now.